Hartnett.
Bob Radcliffe.
Jenna Rhodey.
Shannon Bradley.
Molly Watzinger.
My name is Ashley Martin, and I'm going to do my narrative speech. One of my favorite sayings is, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about." For me, this was true for 23 years of my life. Over 3 million people in the world are affected by alcohol addiction. My mom was one of those people until I was contacted 2 years ago from a producer from the Dr. Phil show. With the help of Dr. Phil, my family finally got the help we needed before it was too late. So one day 2 years ago, I was at work when I received a phone call from a producer from the Dr. Phil show. He told me that a family friend submitted my family for the Dr. Phil show because my mom was the worst alcoholic that she's ever seen, and that she genuinely wanted to get me and my sister some help. The catch was they wanted us to fly out within a week to shoot the show, so that's when my journey started. Producers and production assistants called my phone around the clock for that week straight. During these interviews, they asked questions from what my childhood was like to what was the worst fight I got in with my mom in the last year. So after they gained all of these interviews, they asked us to fly out on Friday morning. So this process started on Monday, and by Friday we were in LA. So convincing my family to go on the show was not easy. We had never talked about this publicly. This was a secret that we kept in our family for 20 years. So after all, she was functional during that time until recently she was dysfunctional. So we were really worried about what people would think about us. But we said that we finally need to tell our story and we need to do it to people who need to hear it. So not only would we be telling our story for the first time, but we would be doing it in front of millions of people. But we agreed we had nothing to lose, so we all flew out to LA. So 1 week of reliving that trauma later, we flew out to California. The minute we landed, my sister, dad, and I were separated from my mom, and we were secluded in our hotel for 48 hours. Now, I know what you're thinking, this probably sounds kind of crazy, especially for a Dr. Phil show, but it's not like he wasn't accommodating. We were in a luxury hotel, and each of us were given $75 each, and the breakfast buffet was amazing. So I guess that's a different speech. So we flew out Friday morning, and we stayed in the hotel Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday we were picked up from the producers, and we went to Paramount Studios. Then we completed our B-roll. So B-roll is like the supplemental footage that you need to tell the story. So that previous week when we did all of our phone interviews, we used all of the things that we said in the phone interviews for camera footage. So on the phone the previous week I would say, my mom is an alcoholic, and in front of the camera I would have to say, my mom is an alcoholic. So it's just the same thing with more drama. So because all of this happened in a whirlwind, I didn't have the time to stop and think about how this was affecting me. That is until we were minutes before going on the show and I had a mental breakdown. I was sitting in the dressing room after getting my hair and makeup done, and I just remembered thinking that this is my first time telling my story, and I'm going to go on stage and meet Dr. Phil because I hadn't met him yet. And I was worried about what the public would think and if they would judge me, but worse, would they judge my mom for being the person she is? So this was my new normal. I lived through this my entire life, and I had to come to terms with the fact that this isn't normal and this is my time to tell my story with my family. So the producers quickly said, get it together, you have to go on stage now. And so this is when we were walked out on the stage and we talked about our story. Once we got on the stage, Dr. Phil allowed us to talk about our trauma, and it all came to surface. We were given the tools we needed to be a family again. Dr. Phil supplied us with counselors, he convinced us to go to Al-Anon, and that's when we talked to people who had like-minded issues like we did. He encouraged all of us to help my mom go to treatment, and after the end of the show, my mom went straight to treatment in Florida. So as terrifying as it might have been to finally tell my story, thanks to the show, our family can finally talk about our situation, not only publicly, but we helped others who also have this addiction to come out publicly as well. In the end, facing my fears had been completely worth it. we received an overwhelming response from others who were dealing with this disease as well. And it actually helped me face my fears even more because these people were reaching out and saying, I have a mom who's also affected by this. I'm also affected by this. So it helped me realize that no one is hopeless, even my mom, who is now in recovery.
Aw, yay!